welcome to the Chessboxing podcast. This week we've got interviews with a couple of guys who fought on our show seasons beatings in December. We've got David, Powerhouse, Jarmany. Say hello, David.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
We've also got Anthony, Toto, Bourached. Say hello, Anthony.
Hey everyone.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, guys, and thanks for taking part in what was an incredible event. I've heard nothing but praise from everybody who attended the event. Had a great time, and just wanted to start by asking Anthony how it feels to win his first chessboxing bout.
Feels really great. I just felt great to be there at the end of it instead of heading off to the hospital. I trained very hard for it, so and I was up against a hard opponent, so I was happy to not just get through it and get the full experience of those full boxing rounds, but also to have the extra charm of winning. And it's really made me eager to participate in the next one.
How did you train? Because obviously you were training for a different opponent. Who you were training for?
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of just general training. I was probably training 3 or 4 times a week, so I was really improving my technique, improving my fitness. There was some I was always training with the thought that I'm fighting a taller opponent. But I think in the end of the day, what was important was my fitness level and my technique and my ability to defend myself.
So when you say taller opponent, so obviously the listeners to the podcast may not know all of the machinations of what happened sort of before the event. We had a lot of interruptions through COVID, as you can imagine. One of those interruptions was on I think it was 2 days before the event. I got a call from Matt Crazy-Reed to say he had COVID, and Matt was scheduled to fight you, to fight Anthony. And obviously Matt's got quite a different physique to Shayan. We should thank Shayan for stepping in at short notice. That's at least the second time he's done that for the sport to make sure the show goes on. But in terms of how to approach a fighter with such long arms and such a reach advantage, it must be quite different to fighting Shayan. It's quite compact, and it's got he's got good fitness, but he's got quite a lot of explosive power as well.
I know with Matt Reed, I've trained with him a lot. I know he's not as fit as Shayan. I know Shayan's very fit. So there was the extra comfort when I was fighting Matt, that I knew he would tire if I'm just stay energetic. It gave me extra security and the concerned feeling of if I'm in trouble, I can probably keep away from him. He's not maybe very, very aggressive, or doesn't have a very high punch output rate. So I suppose the biggest concern when the change was to Shayan was that I'm not going to be able to, if I get flustered again, I'm not going to be able to survive the boxing.
Bit of a strange, sort of a weird dynamic in terms of how you were training for it as well, Anthony, in the sense that with all due respect to Shayan, Matt is a slightly better chess player. And I know you're a very good chess player yourself. So if you were fighting Matt instead of Shayan, then I think Matt would have been less inclined to really go for the knockout. And, watching it from the sidelines, because I'd managed to get showered and back out to the arena by that point, it looked like, in particular in the second boxing round, that Shayan was really trying to go for the knockout, and he was sort of throwing some quite wild shots. And, you were coping with those really, really well. But I just wonder how you think the dynamic would have gone if you had been fighting Matt, because, Matt would have not been throwing those wild shots, because I don't think he would have been as behind on the chess at that point.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I think almost always Matt has the advantage on chess. Am I usually right? He hasn't had many fights at all, probably, where he hasn't had the advantage in chess.
Not that I'm aware of, but he's had a lot of fights before I was sort of involved in the sport, so it's definitely possible. I mean, he's obviously lost some bouts, so there must have been occasions when he's been up against it on the chess.
Yeah, But it's an interesting conversation because I'd have the advantage still on the chess. but you know, he would still be able to have a very good game, especially in these blitz games. So I had done some chess preparation actually for Matt, because I wanted to make sure to have that advantage in the chess, so that if I so that I'm not under pressure to be too aggressive in the boxing. Yeah, it's interesting, and so when the change comes to Shayan, obviously Shayan's not as strong as Matt, but he's still decent. So I took the strategy of just playing calmly but very quickly, which worked out well because it put him in pressure on the clock.
So Matt Reed famously plays the Polish opening, doesn't he?
What is that actually?
Is that B4? Or is the first
I mean,
move?
as black, he seems to play just E6 a lot, and then maybe sometimes play the Dutch, and you know, sometimes play like the French. That was what I saw from his online games, really.
And when Shayan opened, I've struggling to remember, but did he play the Hippo? Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Made famous by obviously Tim Walgar, the godfather of chessboxing. How did you? Obviously, you said you were playing quickly but calmly. Were you conscious that you were going to have to try and break that down, because obviously it's quite a defensive, solid opening?
Not really. So I guess I have a lot of chess experience, so I'm very happy to just play moves quickly, and then I can play into a middle game and end game and handle that transition without. I mean, I don't want to be in a position early on where I have to think critically in order to try to bust a complicated position. Like I don't want to be in a position where I technically have a big advantage, but I have to think deeply in order to try to finish it through. I just wanted a simple game where all the moves were as simple and straightforward. And I think I kind of got that, and I got that without making like any moves that were terribly bad. I think there was a move just in the opening where Shayan finally plays E5, and technically I'm supposed to capture, and then the play slightly in my favor, but instead I push, and it's just kind of a closed maneuvering game. That's equal, but I was able to get a big advantage on time and just eventually get into the winning end game.
Well, I suppose that's one of the things about the chess boxing fight, which is very, very different to a standard chess game, is that actually you've got to make your opponent think. And if you can make your opponent think, you can end up making them blunder because they've got very little time left, or even actually have to go for you in the boxing. So they leave openings for you to actually finish them off in the boxing as well. And I thought in the chess, you handled it very well because you didn't try anything silly. You just played really good, solid, and suitably aggressive moves. They weren't overly aggressive to leave yourself open. And it just ended up that you won it very, very comfortably on the chess.
Yeah. I think there can be a temptation to think, okay, if you want to win the chess quickly, you need to play aggressive moves, but it's not necessarily the case, because someone can always stall unless they're missing checkmate in one move. So I think the way I played the game, where we actually had a lot of moves and nothing, tangibly happened in the game until much later in the game, but we still had the minimum amount of boxing we could have without Shayan running out and the clock. He had 10 seconds left when I got checkmate. And there was 15 seconds left of the round. And when I had sat down for that chess round, I had calculated how much time I needed to use on my clock in order to make sure that the game ends in that chess round.
And David, how did you find the time control? Because obviously, I think previously you were on 6 minutes. We had 9 minutes time control and 4 minutes chess. How did that affect the way your bout developed, do you think?
Well, it was a very, very different bout to my first bout. So my first fight was 3 minutes chess and 2 minutes boxing. And this was the 4 minutes chess and the 3 minutes boxing. So the chess rounds were longer, but the game that was played this time was a very, very different game. So last time it was the Elephant Gambit. which whoever's listening to the podcast or watching it on YouTube, please do have a look at the Elephant Gambit. It's quite explosive, and there's a lot of really exciting moves in it. And there's
so the basis of
lot.
that gambit is to get a positional advantage very quickly. Is that right?
Exactly, by giving up a small amount of material for basically a really strong attack. And this game, I was black again, and Yordan opened with d4, so the queen's pawn, rather than e4, which is the king's pawn. And it ended up in an opening called the London system, which is a very, very solid, sort of slow manoeuvring opening for white. And I think Yordan did that purposely just to basically get into the game and allow quite a bit to happen on the boxing, which was great because, to be honest, I really wanted to have quite a few boxing rounds, and we got 3 rounds in, which was fantastic.
Isn't a London opening notoriously boring as a chess?
Yes, it absolutely is. Albeit, I don't think the game ended up that boring. So the chess enthusiasts listening to the podcast, when Yordan had a pawn on d4, I had one on d5, and I ended up getting my c5 pawn up, and Yordan took the pawn, so d4 takes c5, which really opened the centre. As soon as he played that, I got very confident on the chess, because it just allowed quite a lot of play for me and actually to open up the position and really force things through.
Yeah. I guess when someone plays the London system, it makes no sense to take on c5 because your whole pawn structure is set to making d4 a very strong center.
Exactly, and I think that was just pure chess boxing, because we'd had I think we'd had a round of boxing by then. I think we'd come back to the board, and I think it was quite an intense first round. Sort of with about maybe 50 seconds of the boxing round left, Yordan's punch output definitely went down. I think because it had been such an intense couple of minutes of boxing, and then getting back to the board, it's sort of, I've got to make a move. What do I do? What do I do? And there's a simple move which it doesn't look awful, but positionally it just makes the position fall down. And I think that, no, I wouldn't call it a Jaffa. I'd call it giving me a bit of a positional advantage. But again, it's one of those where if you're talking 2,000 plus in terms of chess rating, that's when it's a positional blunder. If you're talking sort of 14, 15, 1600, or even up to like 1900, you can easily recover from that.
It kind of concedes White's main point of his opening in one move, I suppose. David, I was actually curious, because in contrast to my game, I mean, you didn't seem to play for time there when you had the bigger lead on chess. You were still kind of taking your time with the moves. So is that because you weren't concerned about going into more boxing, or you just wanted to have a long chess boxing, lots of boxing rounds?
I wanted to win it properly. So I knew if I rushed and sort of did what you did, calculate those moves, I could have probably finished the fight with just doing 2 boxing rounds. But, having a third boxing round didn't concern me. The second boxing round was a really, really intense round. There's some really good shots from both of us. But I felt myself, I could go another boxing round. That's absolutely fine. And also, to be honest, I knew it would be an exciting boxing round, because getting to the end of it, I knew Yordan would only have sort of less than a minute on his clock. So I knew that following chess round, he'd either have to play supremely quickly and probably lose on time, or he would lose on time, which is exactly what happened. But the other boxing round didn't concern me too much. And I knew it would be so exciting with Yordan having to knock me out in that round.
Yeah.
So my tactics in that boxing round were very much don't get knocked out.
I was interested because Yordan's known for his range fighting, like his body shape, his body type is quite rangy, although he probably fights slightly lower weight. But he's known for his range punching, when actually a lot of the stuff that he was quite devastating with was the short range punching. Some of those uppercuts look brutal. I don't know what you thought, Anthony. Did you remember seeing any of those? Or perhaps you probably warming up, weren't you?
Yeah, I did watch it afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what was it like trying to weather those uppercuts? He must have caught you with a couple.
He caught me with one of them, but it was a strange one he caught me with, because he never caught me with one directly on the chin, but the one he caught me with was about 40 seconds of the round, the final round, and I moved back to avoid the uppercut, but he'd actually missed my chin and caught my nose just there. So if any of you are actually looking at the video back, and in the final round of chess, I actually take a towel to the board with me, and the simple reason is because my nose is dripping with blood, because he missed the chin with the uppercut and just caught me on the end of the nose.
Well, I think I'd just rather be uppercut on my nose than on my chin, though, still. So
absolutely, especially with the power some of those were coming through. But I think Yordan changed that tactic, because with the range boxing, I don't think he was getting through that much. So he had to come in for the uppercut, for the knockout blows. Because I think as well, I'd caught him with a couple of range shots in terms of I caught him with a jab straight to the nose. His forehead afterwards had a few bruises on from a couple of crosses that I caught him with. So, I think getting actually up close was probably a really good tactic from him. And to be fair, it nearly paid off.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you did incredibly well, David. I thought both of you, your boxing has improved considerably. And I think 6 months ago, 12 months ago, I think if you were in the ring with Yordan, I think you would have struggled a lot more. But
equally, knocked out in the first round.
Equally, I think Yordan did show what he's got. I mean, he went into that fight with very little preparation, and I think give him 3 months to get in shape and to do a bit more sparring. He's clearly a formidable boxer, and he's not a bad chess player either. So that weight category is going to be quite interesting with him in and around it.
Yeah, he's got excellent movement around the ring, just naturally excellent movement. So one of the great things about Yordan's boxing is his flexibility as well. So he'll happily just move from side to side, and then you don't actually know where the punches are coming from, which is extremely, extremely difficult. Whereas I know myself, whilst, I've got a bit of head movement and all the rest of it, I don't have the same sort of looseness in the body that Yordan does, and that looseness makes him very dangerous. And the long arms as well, his reach is undeniably better than mine.
Yeah, well, that's what he's known for. So, Anthony, what did you think of our new character that we had? We sort of did away with the ring girl at last. Did you get a chance to spend a bit of time with the Berserker after the fight or not?
I didn't know. I don't actually know him. I think there might have been a little bit of confusion for some people watching about that he was the ring girl.
I mean, we're very lucky. We've got an amazing crowd and quite forgiving. And I think as the event went on, they realised what their role was and what his role was. And for those of you who didn't see the event, basically we marked each round by a Icelandic thunderclap, which was led by the Berserker. So the idea is the Berserker is going to entertain the crowd between rounds, deliver the round number instead of having a ring girl, which is pretty outdated. And I think it's about time that chess boxing and the world at large sort of moved on from that. Although I know it's weird, it really divides opinions. Some people are like, I mean, obviously men, or almost entirely men, are like, oh no, it's great. But we're trying to attract female fighters. We've got a lot of women working on our team now, and we want to attract women to the sport. So this is another step on that road. So we should thank Richard actually very much for all the time and effort that he put in, not just the show, but him and Kate Gilbert were refining the role and the get up and the way that the Berserker moves and the way he reacts to the crowd and interacts with other people. And next time round, hopefully we won't have COVID, so he can get a bit more involved in the crowd. The whole point is to get a bit more crowd involvement. What did you think, David? I know you were hugging him quite a lot, so you probably had a bit more to say about Berserker.
Yeah, Richard was absolutely fantastic. So, Richard, if you're watching and listening to this, I absolutely salute you. That was a fantastic performance. Richard was the performance of the night. I know during mine and Yordan's fight, I know between one of the rounds, I know I joined in with the Icelandic thunderclap. And after the third boxing round, I was sat down. There's actually a photo of me. It's a very unflattering photo, basically looking like I want to die from sort of sweating too much and trying to catch my breath for the final chess round. And Yordan at that point actually joins in with the Icelandic thunderclap. And, I think Rich did a fantastic job. The crowd really, really got into it, especially in the third and fourth fights of the night. And I think it really moved us on from sort of, almost like prehistoric times, having here's a ring girl, here's a girl in just like, a bikini walking around with a placard, to actually something that's really fun, something you can sort of laugh with and like join in with, and something that's just, cool in effect, but really, really good. And, I think we should definitely do that again.
Yeah, well, thanks again to Richard for doing that for us. And Anthony,
one thing, Gavin,
yeah,
we went to training on Saturday, and I know a few people have had COVID. Pretty much the majority of the country. A few people know have had COVID. There were 10 of us there on Saturday, which was a great turnout. Those of us who've obviously not got it, and Richard was one of the guys there. And we were in the cafe afterwards, and Richard ordered this massive burger. Just, why not? It's just pre-Christmas. So I've got a photo of him eating that burger and having a big smile on his face. And I've asked the owner of the cafe to rename it the Berserker Burger.
Oh, brilliant! That's amazing. Oh, they'll definitely do that. I
don't know whether he's going to do it, but we'll see.
Okay, we'll shout out to the Hamlet Cafe as well in Islington. They always look after us so well. So after training, we go down there for a coffee and slap up, fry up. And food is amazing.
Highlight.
Your highlight is, Anthony?
Highlight of training, of course.
Well, instead of me asking what your favourite chocolate bar is, what is your favourite dish from the Hamlet Cafe menu?
Oh, it's actually been a while. I think they have lots of different things. I think maybe just the breakfast. They just have everything in it. The Shakespeare breakfast.
Yeah, that's why I have Shakespeare breakfast.
Yeah, and then they do good milkshakes as well, and smoothies. They do good smoothies and milkshakes, and it's all really good price.
Yeah, Matt Reed's often seen with a huge sort of Knickerbocker Glory style glass with a milkshake in it, isn't he?
We were wondering why he couldn't lose weight, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so Matt was struggling to lose weight for Anthony's fight.
He goes in and orders a coffee, an orange juice, and a milkshake. Doesn't eat any food, but it's just coffee, orange juice, milkshake.
What a lovely man.
I think we still need to fight.
Well,
me and Matt.
You still want to fight Matt? You still want to fight Matt? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I kind of want to fight as low a weight possible, but I think it would be good to fight Matt.
Okay, well, Matt, shout out to Matt Reed, chessboxing legend. There you go, Matt. It's on. It's still on. So let's put it together for April.
Yeah, if he doesn't get COVID.
Oh, come on! Wow, you heard it here first. Okay, guys. Anthony, have you got anything else to add before we wrap things up?
No, I really, really enjoyed it. It was a really great event. I can't wait to participate next time. I think think I had a lot of nerves coming up to this one, given my history, my previous time, and it being my first fight after being knocked out, or my first proper full rounds, and as well as my first win. So I think I'm really looking forward to it, and look forward to a lot more positively the next fight.
Yes, and should just say, incredibly brave to have that first experience and then get straight back in the ring. Well done, mate, and thanks for fighting for us. It was a great fight, but a great show. You always bring the show, bring the party. I mean, what an entrance again. You can't. Who's going to top that? And David, have you got anything to add? I mean, your fight was great. I know you've now got a brewing bromance there with Yordan. So God knows if you'll ever fight him again. But
well, we were winking at each other across the ring and shake hands before everyone, and there's obviously a few pictures of us afterwards. So it is definitely a brewing bromance. But I just want to give a big shout out to Lars and Ollie, who came over from Finland. So I was originally supposed to fight Lars, and unfortunately he couldn't fight in the end. Ollie came over as his corner man as well. So just a big thank you to them both, and hope they're doing all right. And I'm sure we'll see you guys in London or when we come out to Finland very shortly.
I'm sure also shout out to Marie, who again trained incredibly hard, couldn't fight, and Gida, her opponent, who didn't make it out of Lithuania because of COVID. So yeah, there was quite a few chops and changes, a few disappointed people, but unfortunately these are the times that we live in. And yeah, shout out to all the Finnish guys doing a great job over there in Finland, and it was good to see some of you come across for the event. Thank you for the support. We haven't actually got a date announced yet for our next show. Well, we've got a date. We haven't got tickets on sale yet. We're just waiting to see what's going to happen sort of through mid-January with COVID restrictions. But we are planning an event in April at the moment. If you want to see the show, the whole show is on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Chessboxing Nation. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot of the show is on there as well. A lot of the previous fights, if you want to have a look and see back through the back catalogue there of various different fights, including Toto the Robot's first excursion onto the scene, as well as David's for that matter. You can go there. Follow us on Instagram, which is @Chessboxing Nation. And that's it from us, I think. We'll see you another couple of weeks. Got 2 more fighters coming up to talk about their experience. But just for me to say thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you, Gavin.
And thanks very much, David.
Cheers, Gavin. Cheers, guys. Take care of yourselves. Have a lovely Christmas and New Year.
Have a Merry Christmas from everybody at Chessboxing Nation.